The loss of a child is an unbearable thought. And when Nadia Ahrens' son died unexpectedly, her life fell apart. She was shattered by loss, and instead of losing herself to grief, Nadia drew on her wisdom. She realized that she could either live life as a victim or take the worst experience of her life and help other people. Nadia went on to create the Soul Care six-pack system and helps women overcome fear and life transitions to find their soul's purpose. Thanks for joining me, Nadia.
Thanks for having me, Lucie.
Wow. Did you want to start by sharing what is your empowering story through all of this?
Sure, might as well drop the bomb now. Well, I'm a psychotherapist by trade, and I have been doing that for like 20 years. And back in the end of 2015, my husband was laid off by his uh, corporate job, and which was actually a good thing. However, we were like, hey, let's go take the kids on a trip of a lifetime. And so we packed up and backpacked with our three kids, Jack, Mia, and Zoe, through Thailand for 5 weeks, and had an amazing, awesome experience. And then we came home, and uh, 4 days later, my son had an accident, and my life completely changed. And so you know, it's hard to put into words. Anytime I talk about him, I'm going to get emotional. It's just how it is, because grief is love, and I'm never going to stop grieving, my first child, or any, even if he wasn't my first child, just my baby. And so I just, obviously, I stopped seeing clients. I was really just in the depths of grief, and I had this moment on his bedroom floor where I was just, the words crying and grieving don't even, it's such a primal experience to literally have your insides torn out, and the physical and emotional pain of losing my son was unbearable. And I had this moment on the floor of his room where I was just like, I don't want to do this. I don't I don't want to feel the pain. I don't want to go on. I don't want to live my life, essentially. And I remember having this moment of going, okay, maybe I'll just live like a passively suicidal life, waiting to die so that I could be with him again, and just live this victim life. And then in the next moment, my grandmother came to me in my mind, and excuse me, she at the time was 98, and she died last year at almost 102. And so when she came into my mind, I was like, shit, I have her genes, and I am likely going to be here for a really long time. I mean, again, when you lose a child unexpectedly, you don't know when you're going to die. I could walk out of my house and get hit by a truck. Like you just don't know. But if all goes according to genetics, I'm probably going to be here a really fucking long time. So then my next thought was, this victim life, just waiting to die, is going to be even more torturous. And so I chose in that moment to transform the shit out of the worst experience that I will ever go through in my life. And in that moment, I was like, okay, I have to do the things that are going to help me get up off this floor. And and it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to create this system and all this stuff, but I was like, how can I get myself off the floor so that I could function, so that I could be there for my other children, that I could just maybe brush my teeth and get out of my pajamas, And so, I am a firm believer in feeling all of my feelings. And so I would come into his room and I would spend hours and actually I'm in his room now. It's actually where I do my work. So I kind of channel both of us here. And, I was like, I have to feel all my feelings. I have to journal, and I would write to him. I would write to my higher self. I would, pour all of my emotions out into my journal. I would meditate, and eventually, I always say when shit hits the fan and something horrific happens, the people who show up for you are your people. And I had friends that literally took me by the hand and was like, okay, we know that exercise helps you and makes you feel better. We're going to take you to all of the classes that we hate, that you love, just so we could get you there, so you could get that part of you back as well. And, and so through doing this, and again, the first year of grief is really a blur. So I don't know how long I was doing this until I was able to kind of get functional again. But through that experience and doing those, I say those are like my core four things. Like, I was able to eventually get back on my feet. I cleared house with my clients. I attracted a whole bunch of new wonderful women who who are looking to live their most empowered lives. And it's because of what I went through that I have this unshakable belief in women that no matter what it is, you could get through that thing, And so, and then the next thing I know, this soul care 6-pack system, just started to evolve. So, it's kind of my life's passion, and I've got Jack behind me to really teach women that no matter what it is, you could get through anything and everything.
Wow. Like, I can relate to, I nowhere near my journey comes anywhere close to what you've been through, but I've also been through a process of hitting that rock bottom and trying to find your way out. I call it scraping the bottom of shit barrel.
That's a good one.
Because because you basically, when you're at the bottom of it, you can do one of two things. You can either drown in the shit, or you can look up.
Right.
And it was through what I went through that I developed some tools that at the time, and like you said, you had no idea what you were doing, why it was helping, or what it would turn into. But I had also created some tools that little by little, day by day, started to help me.
Right.
And then sort of fast forward, 3 years later, and I can't believe who this person is today compared to who that person was. There's no difference.
Totally.
And
Totally.
and that's it. Is it now? I think, like, if I know it sounds corny to say, but if I can do this, I know anybody can, because there's nothing special about me. I'm just like any other mom, wife, woman,
Right.
employee, everything. I'm just the same.
Right.
And I think, in your experience and the clients that you've dealt with, have you found that one of the problem or one of the blocks for women is that they're not allowing themselves to be their true authentic self?
Absolutely. I mean, I think women, they don't even know what that means, and they don't know a lot of times who they are, and so as I developed this system of, I call it soul care, because self-care is just so overused, and they're like, oh, I get the bubble baths and the massages and the mani pedis. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's not that.
it's not that. Like, those
That's
are great. Yeah,
exterior. Yeah.
yeah, like those are great, but this is creating time and space for you every day so that you could fill yourself up. Because I like to look at people as batteries, right? And especially as women, we've been conditioned by society to go, 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 put yourself last on the list. Everybody else is way more important than you. And, and people are like, I have no time in the day to take care of myself. Like, we all have 24 hours in the day, and it's like, you have to, I mean, as like, again, corny as it sounds, like, you have to put that oxygen mask on first, because if not, you're giving people what's left of you and not what's best of you. And so it's a whole, not only is it a mindset shift, but it's really like, let's do some soul searching. What belief is keeping you locked in to you putting yourself last on the list? I mean, I had a client who said, I'm not even on this list. So,
and it's true. You're sort of talking about you can't give if you're empty, if your battery's low. And for me, it's you can't pour from an empty cup.
right.
And that's why for me, I intentionally start my day by putting myself first. And now I can look back and I've got perspective. I would always say yes to everybody else except for me.
Right.
But now I'm saying no to somebody because that is a yes for me.
Absolutely.
And it's having that courage to, say, no, I'm not doing this. This is my time. This is
Yep.
for me. This is what I need so that I can be the best for everybody else.
Right. And that's, part of the system, like the basis of everything, but the foundation is that soul care. So, it is, and even if it's like, when I talk about meditation, people are like, oh, I can't meditate. I can't turn my mind off. And I'm like, you know what? I was the same way. And start with 2 minutes. I'm not saying sit for 40 minutes and, become the next Dalai Lama, but it's like, sit for 2 minutes so that you could condition your mind to start to slow down and to start to empty out. Because when we have all this chatter in our mind or in our bodies, we're not giving that space for your higher self to come through to give you that guidance and trust those intuitions and those gut feelings. So the journaling and the meditation really helps condition you to get all of your gunk out so that you could receive and listen to that higher part of you that is the wise woman within us all. And so, and then part of the next parts of these this system is, uncovering those fears that hold you back. The universal fears of like, I'm not worthy, or I don't want to outshine anybody, or I'm not good enough, or, so these are all universal fears that everybody has. And then, when we take a deeper look at those fears, codependency flares up. And I believe that everybody's a little bit codependent, is, because we're all human. And then it depends on like your family of origin and your life experiences and all of these things. But we were all attached to, an umbilical cord when we came in. So we're all going to be a little bit codependent, right? And so, and as women, again, we're so conditioned to give ourselves of others so that we could find our worth. Is, it's about unpacking that and looking at who we're codependent with and why. And then, like you said, start creating boundaries. And the number one way to start setting a boundary is learning how to say no, and using your voice.
And
And that is
it's hard, and it's scary. I'm sort of talking to, different girlfriends that are, in the early stages of that journey, and they're setting those boundaries for themselves and saying, no, I need this time for me. This is what I need to do. And their spouses are getting a little bit pissed off with that, because suddenly it's like, hey, wait a second. You spent the last 20 years focused on me.
right.
And now you're saying, no, you're taking care of you. So do you have any sort of tips or ways that people can, navigate through those challenges?
Yeah. And you know what? I always say, like, when you start to take care of yourself, you're going to feel guilty, right? Because you're so conditioned to taking care of other people. And so feel the guilt and keep going, and there's a family systems model of psychotherapy where you have the homeostasis of the relationship or of the family. And like when you're talking about your girlfriends, when like their husbands are getting upset that they're starting to take care of themselves, like their homeostasis was, she takes care of everything. And so of course it's going to upset the apple cart, so to speak, right? And so it's you have to keep doing it, because like right now their level of functioning is like, at point A, and then when somebody starts to change, it upsets that equilibrium. So what happens is the people want, even if it's dysfunctional, that old system because they know it. And so it's about kind of going through those really kind of rocky, wavy parts of growth, which is hard and ugly and, not a pretty experience, growth. And then eventually what happens is you continue to grow, and then, the partner or the family levels up. So it brings the whole system to another level of being, which is healthier. And so, it's hard, but like get up 20 minutes earlier and do like 5 minutes of quiet time. If you don't want to call it meditation, do 5 minutes of journaling and 5 minutes of moving your body. You could run in place, you could do push-ups, you could walk around the block, but when you start to move your body, it helps your mind. It increases your endorphins and it decreases your cortisol levels, and so and I'm a queen of baby steps, which is why it's like, do it for 20 minutes and each one 5 minutes. Because anytime somebody comes in and they're like, I want a whole life overhaul and I want it to happen within the next 6 months, I'm like, all right, well, good luck with that. Like we're going to take baby steps, because
Yeah, it doesn't
that's,
stick. Yeah.
no, never sticks.
Yeah. And I didn't realize it, but that's what I've been doing, is I've been taking baby steps to create change. And it's, you go back to, every January and people's New Year's resolutions. And I think January is the biggest gym membership month,
Yeah.
that they ever have.
Yeah.
And I think that's because people, they want to do it all at once.
Right.
And it's like, well, no, it's okay just to start.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be perfect. It doesn't
Right.
have to be bang on. You just have to start. And you know what? If you screw up eating one day, if you screw up exercising one day, if you miss a day of journaling or meditating, guess what?
Yeah.
There's a new morning.
Yeah. And just get back
You
on
just
that
do it
horse,
again.
as
Yeah.
they say. Yeah. Yeah. And when you just said perfection, and I feel like in North America, especially, or at least in the States, it's like being a perfectionist is like a badge of honor, and it's like, well, I want everything to be perfect, or I can't get this out because it needs to be a perfect way. And here's the deal. Perfectionism is just another way of saying fear.
Yeah.
And if you've ever read Liz Gilbert's Big Magic, and if you haven't, read it, it's great.
No. Okay.
I love her. She says that perfectionism is nothing but fear dressed up in high heels and a fur coat. And I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
oh my God, I love that. And also, but with perfectionism, it's like trying to reach the horizon. It's an illusion. You're never going to get there. It's like, I want to be happy all the time,
But trying to be
which is also
perfect.
an illusion.
Yeah. But trying to be perfect relates directly back to not being your authentic self.
Right.
Because
Right.
and I when my kids were little, I was always, wondering what the other moms were thinking about me. And, did I have this right? Did I have that right? Was this good? Right down to their snacks at school, all of that.
Right.
And you're not being who you are. You know what? It's okay to say, my kids, they have clean clothes today. That's a good thing.
Right. If you're lucky. Wow,
Yeah.
that's huge. Right.
You know, and but I have no idea where it came from. You know, I think it would be easy for us in where we are today to blame social media. But, you know, I had a conversation with a girlfriend, and her mother refused to order them takeout pizza because she was afraid of what the neighbors would think.
Oh yeah, it's totally
So
not
so
social media.
it's not social media. I'm thinking, what the hell are we doing to ourselves as women, as mothers, as
Well, I
wives?
think we're getting conditioned by a patriarchal society to live a certain way, to meet ridiculous expectations. It's like, men have different, they're just like different beings, and they're like, they are very calculated and drive oriented and linear and logical, and we're just not. We're cyclical, and we're receiving, and we're, just different beings, and we've been living in this patriarchal society that just doesn't work for us, because we're not born competing. I think that's like a hunter gatherer thing where they're like, okay, I'm going to go hunt the buffalo, and I'm going to focus on it, and I'm going to get it, versus women who are gatherers, and we like sit around in circles and help each other raise kids and birth somebody in a hut, and we're more communal. And so when we're in a society that preaches that we have to do things in a patriarchal way, including competing, it's going to fracture that sisterhood that we as women have, that we need to build up, because it's like we have to stop competing with each other, which is exactly that. Like, your mom or the neighbor didn't want to order the pizza because she was too concerned with what everybody else was thinking. And it's just like, people are going to think shitty things about you no matter what you do, and that's part of this process with what I do with women, is like, stop looking externally for validation and for acceptance and to be liked. Because, and look, I am a recovering people pleaser, and I was saying yes to everybody just so I could be liked. And it was exhausting. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing this for? And then I started to, do my own deeper work and started to explore myself. And I was like, hold on, this isn't working. And you have to shift from an external focus to an internal focus. What do I want? What feels right to me? And I'm constantly telling my clients, tune into your body, because your body is a decoder, and especially if you're an empath. And I know we were talking about this a little bit before we started the podcast, but if you're an empath, you are feeling your way through life. If you're an artist, maybe you're visually, moving through life, or if you're a musician, you're auditorily moving your way through life. But if you're an empath, you are feeling your way through life, and you are picking up on other people's feelings and energies like nobody's business, and
Can you just elaborate on what an empath is? Because again, before we hit record, I was sharing with you, I only just realized that that was actually a thing. I didn't know it existed.
yeah.
So,
So
and I'm sure there's other people out there listening that thought that, as I did, I thought everybody was that way. And when I realized that, well, no, there's only a small percentage of the population that way, I'm like, well, shit, that
right.
explains a lot.
Right. Well, no wonder I'm a freak of nature. Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So an empath is someone, it's about 20% of the population. They're mostly introverts. I'm actually even rarer because I'm an extroverted empath.
Same here.
But so we're doubly freakish, right? But it's essentially, we feel our way through life. So we're essentially picking up on other people's feelings. We're like human sponges. And empath a lot is kind of thrown out a lot these days, and it's got kind of this like woo woo energy to it, but there's actual brain science behind being an empath. And so all humans have a mirror neuron system that's in our brain, and that system is responsible for connection, uh, for connection essentially. And and as an empath, our mirror neuron system is overactive. And so a lot of times we're also highly sensitive. And so we have to wear comfortable clothes, or temperature. We're extremely like sensitive to temperature. My husband jokes that my perfect temperature is between 78 and 82 because I'm either freezing or it's too hot or I'm getting a draft from the air conditioning, and then with sounds, it's, we're picking up on all of these little sounds that literally could drive us nuts. And so and a great book that I tell people all the time is get the Empath Survival Guide. And it's by Judith Orloff, and she's a psychiatrist and also an empath, and she does a great job at explaining it. It's awesome. But so, one of the things that as empaths, like, we need alone time. And soul care is not an option for us, because what happens is when you're an empath and you're picking up, and if you don't know that you're one, and then you're it's like a magnet of other people's feelings, and then you don't know if they're your feelings that you're having or if they're the other person's. So if you have like a baseline of what you're feeling, and then somebody walks in the room, and then all of a sudden you're like agitated or depressed or, calm, it's because you're picking up on the feelings of the other person. And so
And
I
that's
always,
why, yeah, for me, the biggest thing that I didn't understand is I come from what's considered a large family. There's four of us siblings, my parents, and then, gaggle of nieces and nephews. So my parents always like to have these big family gatherings where everybody's here. And I don't like them. And the reason why, and I've come to realize the reason why I don't like them is because of the energy and the vibration that 15 other people are bringing into the room. Like,
right.
it fucks me up.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. It
And
totally does.
I don't enjoy it. And for a while I just thought that, I was being a bitch. But if
Well,
I'm
and you
with,
probably were, because you're like, your
yeah.
energy field is fucking frazzled.
And it's like, if I'm with like a couple of people, perfect. But
Yeah.
those large family gatherings where you're bringing in all those lovely family dynamics and all the bullshit that comes with that,
Right.
that's really stressful for me. But a room full of people I don't know doesn't affect me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Unless there's
And
something really heavy
it,
going on.
yeah, I mean, I could walk into a room and just read, that's the first thing I'm feeling, is like everybody's energy in the room. I'm like one of the things, we're like human lie detectors, right? So we could, you know, I'm like, yeah, I could see right through you. And even like at concerts or supermarkets, like when I was young, I used to get like really dizzy and overwhelmed in supermarkets because it's a sensory overload.
Oh, wow.
And so that's the thing with being a highly sensitive person and an empath. Like, we get sensory overload all the time. And so, when you're done with your family gatherings, I would imagine that you go home because you're just like,
Spent.
bitchy and agitated and
Yeah,
spent, and then you go and spend time by yourself so you could
yeah,
replenish. And
yeah.
that's one of the things, is like, that's why alone time and soul care is tremendously important, because It's because you have to learn how to contain your own energy and keep your energy field clear from other people's shit. Because it's like, do you remember that like saying when you were little, like on the playground, I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever I say bounces off of me and sticks to you, or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to
Right.
you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one. Yeah. I'm queen at messing up
Oh,
sayings,
don't even worry. I'm surprised I got it.
but that kid was like an energetic genius, because it's like, we all have an energy field around us. And, if we are letting everything in, that's going to really fuck us up, and if you don't know that you're an empath and you're letting all this other people's feelings in, a lot of times it shows up as depression. A lot of times it shows up as anxiety or panic attacks, or even like seasonal affective disorder. So it's really important to start focusing on yourself first, so that you can create these boundaries, so that you could live, the life that you were born to live. Stop living for everybody else. It's not why you're fucking here. You're here for a purpose. And so you've got to clear out all this gunk so you can get to that place within you, so that you can live your life. And there's something about midlife. I mean, we seem to be the same age. Like, that shit is real. Like, the midlife fucking crisis is real. It showed up with my son dying, and you on your floor moment, and so it gives you this time to go, shit, I've been here for, I keep forgetting how the hell old I am. This, like, since
Oh,
the
that's okay. I'm the same
quarantine,
way.
I'm like, well, how old am I? What day is this? Like,
I
I'm
had, we
40,
had a
I'm 48.
Okay. Yeah. Wait a second. I think I'm 47.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm 47.
Yeah, I know. And even when I do the math, it's not adding up, but I'm like, okay, I'm
We're thereabouts.
48. But it's like, we're here and we're like, okay, we've lived potentially half of our lives for what? What are we doing here? What's the point? And so then the soul searching really does happen, hopefully, and you're not just going out and buying a red Ferrari and having a midlife crisis that way, but you're given this opportunity to take a deeper look within yourself, to go, okay, why am I here? What's my purpose? And how do I want to help create a better world?
And I found, one of the things that I found is, you, again, going back to what society is putting on us, we go through school, we graduate from high school, we go to college, university, and then you're supposed to start your career, get married, and I was
Have
like,
the kids, buy the
who,
dog, right?
who created this checklist? Who
Right.
said that
The
that's the way?
man to keep us
It's like,
down.
who said that this is the way it's supposed to go? And,
Right.
you sort of get up every day and you're just going through the motions. And it's not until you hit that moment where you think, wait, what am I doing? What's for me?
Right.
And again, it feels very, very selfish when you start doing it. But when you get more comfortable and when you start to change, although, once you hit that sort of growth area, you're growing, the people around you are uncomfortable with the changes, but they grow too. So, you're first to change and grow, but then the people around you will also change and grow.
Right. Hopefully,
Hopefully.
and if not, then it's the decision of, you know, how do I work with this person? Do I continue to have them in my life? And, and everybody's on their own path,
Yeah.
and so, just because you're learning and growing and evolving and doing kick-ass stuff with your own life and somebody else isn't, you trying to get, I mean, yes, I want everybody to do self-care, of course, but like, some people don't want to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to rescue you and force you to do it, because you're on your own path. And if you want to stay stuck in victim mode, go ahead.
Yeah.
And so, but then the boundaries start to get really clear, and it's not like you have to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but how do you then work with those people who may not want to grow, because maybe your family doesn't want to grow, maybe your family is toxic, like who knows, but it's then going, okay, I don't want to ditch my whole family, so let me limit the time that I spend with them, or choose to do smaller group activities so it's not a total shit show when everybody shows up, or hey, you know what, that text came through and I don't feel like dealing with it right now. So it's learning how to, what your boundaries are, and to tune into your body to go, ooh, that somebody just crossed a boundary here and that didn't feel good, and so what am I going to do or say to counter that? And so it's a whole process, but once you start learning about yourself, you start loving yourself, and you're like, wow, I'm pretty fucking rad, even though I have my faults. I have my shadow
Yeah.
sides. And that's the thing, it's like, we're not here to say, hey, everybody's got to be happy all the time, because that's an illusion too. It's like, hey, I like to see people also as batteries and as diamonds, and so, we all want to show our shiny self to the world, but then there's other parts of another facet that might be cloudy or not so great, and so it's about learning how to love all aspects of yourself, even the kind of shadowy, shitty sides that you don't really like, because that piece of you is that wounded child that got wounded somewhere along the way, that you actually have to learn how to love, because you can't get rid of that part of yourself. And so it's like that we are these whole humans, and loving yourself no matter what.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Is you have to love the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's it. You are who you
Yeah.
are. So what is the best way for people to get in touch with you if they wanted to learn more about the Soul Care Six Pack?
Through my website, and that is nadiaahrens.com. And I could spell my last name for you. I don't know.
I'll put it in the
Great.
show notes. Yeah.
Awesome. Good, good,
Okay,
good.
perfect.
And on my site, you could also take the Are You an Empath quiz. And I also have a free meditation on there too. So
Oh,
if you're
perfect.
new to meditations, this would be a good starting spot. But if you want to find out more about being an empath, take my quiz. And I also have a free Facebook group, which is Transform the Shit Out of Your Life Tribe. And I go live every Monday, and it's a whole group of super awesome women, and it's inspirational, and you could find me there as well. And I'm also on Instagram, Nadia Ahrens. Everything's Nadia Ahrens. I like to try to keep things
Keep
simple.
it simple. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story today, Nadia.
Thank you, Lucie. It was such a pleasure meeting you and connecting with you.
Take care.
You too.